Hi everyone, today I want to show you some advanced selective editing techniques, and this is a pretty simple photo I have, but what I did is I took out all the color in the background and I altered the color in the flower. So I'm going to show you how I did that, and there's some pretty cool techniques involving some things over here I haven't shown you yet. Before I do that, I'm going to let me turn my pen on. Hit done here and head over here, and I've got this version that I currently have, so I'm going to go back to the original and hit apply, and it's going to regress back to that. All right, and let me just see, and I think I'm going to take this one. Yeah, okay, so this is the one I edited before, so I'll use that. So what I'm going to do, and I've already done some editing on this using, all these different things. You can see I've messed with the options a little bit here. All right, so let's do some selective editing. So what changed? So when I go to selective editing, what I'd like to do is alter the color of the flower, and I'm going to bump out the color in the background. But those are two different edits. So to start off with, to alter the color of the flower, I'm going to just grab a brush, and I like to zoom in when I do this kind of stuff, and just add some color here. And I can already see that in the process of coloring the brush, I went a little bit too far, and I'm kind of going out past the edges, no biggie. While I'm in this mode, I can go back and erase. And even after I'm out of this mode, I can go back and erase. It's really cool. So if something doesn't quite look right later on, after the fact, you can go back and change it. It's pretty forgiving, I have to say. So the trick here is if I unclick on that, you see that the red goes away. When I come back, I can see the red again, where the edit's going to be applied. So I am going to go over to color here, and I'm going to bump up my saturation a little bit. Why not? Not too much, but a little bit more. And I really want to caution you, like, I'm going to play around with my hue a little bit, but I mean, like, I see people doing this all the time where, like, they'll make someone's skin blue or the grass becomes purple. Like, this looks cool, but I don't know any flower on the planet that looks quite like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Just watch, someone's going to prove me wrong. Although, so like when I edit these and mess around with them, if I'm going with another color, I try to be a little bit more subtle about it. So if I'm going to do something like that, maybe I'll bump the saturation down just a little bit, so it's not quite crazy, because it's a pretty wacky, crazy color combo there. I don't think flowers necessarily look like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so now that I have that, let me show you the trick. That part you already know. Here's what you don't know. So I'm going to hit plus. I'm going to grab a radial gradient, and oops, and I meant to put that over here on top of the flower. And I'm going to put the gradient around the flower, which doesn't really make sense, because what I really want to do is I want to edit the background. So you're probably like, well, why are you doing this around the flower? Let me show you. Check this out. I'm going to click on this little button right here, and what it's going to do is it's going to invert my edit, okay? And the other thing I'm going to want to do, because I can see it's kind of going a little bit too much in here, is I'm going to bring this in, and then I'm going to do one more thing that is important. And I might just kind of have to mess with this a little bit. So obviously it's going to affect it. I'm going to mess with my feather. So what is a feather? Feather is like how much the gradient dissipates once it gets to the edge. And so when I come over here to this tool, you can see the word feather pops up there. Oops, let me bring that back. So if I slide down, you can see the feather goes down. Now I'm at 1% up here, just to show you. And if I slide it up, it's up to 100%. Oops, it's hard to do this. All right, so I'm going to slide it down and up, and I might have to play around with that. I think I'm going to get kind of a 20% feather for now. And now I'm going to mess with my saturation, and look at what happened to my background. So while it is messing a little bit with the flower, not as much, and I can play around with the saturation and just, or the feathering, and see how that affects. See that? I want to probably not have it at 0, because when I hit done, so I get like a perfect ring around that, and it doesn't really fade into it. So you really want to be careful with your feathering. So let me go back here and go back to that edit that I had. Oops. was a different one. Yikes. It's gone. I lost it. There it is. All right. Go back to my selective edits and I have to find it. There it is again. And I think I'll just move this out again. And then mess with the feather. And that's the cool thing about this. You can move the stuff around a little bit. So we'll try that and put this back where it was. Hit done. And now I have my image. Now the last thing you want to do, as always, is if this is your final edit, so you can see I have this right here. This is my current edit. This is the one that I've set to be my final. If I leave it the way it is, this is the one I'm always going to see. So if I want to show this as my final edit, I have to hit create version and I have to call it something. I think I'll call this black, white, flower. Okay, and I'm going to hit apply. And that means when I go back to my camera roll now, oops, that will always be the version that I see on there. Okay.